You're listening to the Bulldog Hour, getting you inside the Wilson football program with weekly game previews, recaps, highlights, and interviews. Now, here are your hosts, Joe Mays and Justin Raffauf.
A good Sunday afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to the Bulldog Hour. As we're off to a great start here, as Justin is scrambling to say he can't hear anything. Why can't he hear anything? And I am turning knobs and hitting buttons, and it turns out his headphones aren't even plugged in.
But they were plugged in because I could hear everything for the sound check.
So you must have stepped on the cord. I don't know what else to tell you there.
Well, in lieu of knocking things over last week, I figured I would just start unplugging things this week, I guess.
Yeah, so all good things. Good start, but that's okay. We're here for the 7th episode of our 8th season, and much like last week, we are not by ourselves. We have a guest. He's been here before, but we're thankful that he's ready to join us once again. It is Mike Drago from MikeDragoSports.com, who was at the game Friday night and has a slew of information on the website, which Justin just said to me, Mike, when we were at practice the other day, he cannot even keep up with everything you've been rolling out on the page, which for subscribers of MikeDragoSports.com, that can only be seen as a positive.
Thanks, Justin. Maybe I'll slow the pace down a little this week to give you a chance to catch up.
Hey, you keep doing your thing, and it's up to me. I need to raise my game. Is how I look at it. So.
Well, the last month's been pretty exhausting. I can tell you that it's been nonstop, especially the last week. But I'm really excited with the start we got off to this season, and ready to go.
And we're going to talk about the first year of the site, which you just celebrated a few weeks ago. Rolling into year 2 strong, a lot of things going on, a lot of coverage. And we appreciate that, being able to stay in touch, not just with the Bulldogs, but everything happening throughout Berks County and the LL League now. So, and I know you've got a partnership with Lancaster Online, Lancaster newspaper, and the great staff that they have up there. And we're looking forward to talking about that and all the upcoming coverage. But before we do that, we do want to do our housekeeping like we do every show, and that is to thank the sponsors. Primarily, the presented by sponsor of Mays Sandwich Shop. My dad, Bill Mays, has been a huge supporter of not just this show, but the show that Justin and I started, over 11 years ago now. And we can continue to go strong with that one in the non-Wilson football season, because that Wilson football demands weekly shows. But besides Mays Sandwich Shop, we do have an abundance of Season 8 sponsors, which I'm very thankful for and appreciate everyone that has joined on. Besides Mays Sandwich Shop, we have the Hop family, and one that came in right before the show, our buddy Andy Herr, back on.
Yes,
I didn't even have time to update the slide, so I'll get Andy on next week.
Andy finally came back to Pennsylvania. I
just thought he was setting up shop in Delaware.
Right, but, I know. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, so Andy Herr, who's also been a long-time supporter of ours, hopefully we'll see him at a Wilson game this year. He hopped on as a sponsor again just before this show started. We have 6 anonymous donors, which is just fantastic. I wish they would allow us to thank them by name, but we will respect their wishes. And then I mentioned this on last week's show, but again, thanks once again to our guest tonight, Mike Drago, a sponsor of the show for a second straight year. So, Mike, we really appreciate the support.
Oh, I wanted to be invited back, so I figured I better send you a check.
To be fair, I had asked you a few months ago to come back on the show. A check was not a requirement, but it is completely appreciated.
Well, you're welcome. I'm glad to do it.
So besides the sponsorships, advertising, and the donations, one of the great ways you can support the show is sort of like what Mike wants to. Visits to the website. Go to the website. BulldogHour.com is a huge place for announcements, information, stats, history, anything you can think of with Wilson football. It's on there. And if you want to see something on there, please let me know. Other things you can do, Justin's favorite.
Yeah, like and share. We hear lots of it from you guys when we see you on Friday nights at the games. Just if there's something you like or something you want to see, just like and share and interact with it online, and that just helps spread the word.
Yeah, the kind words that we get are are awesome. Especially, we've heard it for many years from a lot of parents, appreciate the things that Justin and I are able to do on Friday nights and then on the weekends after the games. But when the players say, it really means something special, that it's reaching out to everyone. And we've been hearing from a lot of parents and players this year. So we do appreciate the kind words. And we'll be back next week. Again, we're weekly now. So episode 8 will be next Sunday, September 4th, 8:30 as the expected start time. And we will be recapping the game against Central Dauphin and then previewing with a week 3 opponent against Martin Luther King. So we're already in the thick of it, Justin. Schedule, we're heading towards the bottom of that first column.
I know, which is just crazy.
Every year, we say it every single year. So the opening night game was Friday. Wilson hosted Roman Catholic. And to break that one down, we have Mike Drago here with us. And once Mike said he was going to the game, I was like, we got to get you on the show because we want to talk about it. Not just about Roman Catholic, but everything that you've experienced with the Bulldogs this summer and the schedule that they have about. But we'll start with the Roman Catholic game. Everyone knew going in that it was going to be a tough game. New opponent, someone you've never played before, poses a certain amount of issues to begin with. But then knowing the amount of talent that the Cahillites, am I saying that correctly? Is that right?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Roman Catholic poses. All off season we heard, they had 5 or 6 Division I guys. And then I was doing the preview that I was writing up and I'm like, I'm up to about 12. And then I just heard someone Friday night tell me 16. So 16 Division I prospects, which is just mind blowing. You might see 1 or 2, maybe 3 on some strong teams, but to think 16 from the freshman class to the senior class on one squad is not something that I'm used to seeing. So on paper, you knew it was going to be a battle. Things started out pretty good for Wilson, though. But unfortunately, they weren't able to maintain that intensity and the momentum, and things really spiraled out of control, especially in the fourth quarter when Roman Catholic was able to capitalize on a late turnover and things snowballed on them. But Mike, what were your first impressions from the Wilson-Roman Catholic game?
I thought 15 minutes into the game, this is going to be a rout Wilson's direction because Roman looked very unorganized. Their special teams looked like a disaster waiting to happen. They made the mistake of kicking the cam, which told me they must not have scouted Wilson because it's not a secret you don't kick the cam. And then, the defense got 3 straight 3 and outs to open the game. I'm thinking, this is going to be 30-6 Wilson, and all the hype that we heard about was just that hype because sometimes we see these teams with these Division I prospects or alleged Division I prospects, but also they were 3-7 last year. So, how good was this team? Now, I know that they had really put a renewed emphasis on football at Roman, which has always been known as a basketball school, one of probably the greatest program in Catholic League history in terms of basketball, but the football program you never hear about. But they have a new coach that came in a few years ago, Rick Preet, and it looks like the school has told him to go for it, and he's going for it, and he's bringing in some top flight kids. So they had some talented kids. I mean, the speed in the backfield and at receiver was, you needed a team to be technically perfect and in the right position to stop them. And for a while, Wilson was, but then the injuries started mounting up. I don't know how much that played a factor, but one by one, Wilson started losing guys on defense. I think by mid-third quarter, they were down. Well, Farrell didn't even start.
Right.
They were down maybe 3 to 4 starting positions on defense, and it was still a close game. It was a 1-possession game when Rada kicked the field goal.
Right.
But even by that point, I got the sense they were hanging on. But, at full strength, if those guys don't get hurt and they stay on the field, I think it's a more respectable game. It just got out of hand at the end.
Yeah, you look at if anyone just looks at the scoreboard, you're going to think that wasn't a competitive game at all, which is not the case. But honestly, I'll take that from people that aren't paying attention.
Yeah,
you undersell a team, that's fine.
Right, that's kind of my thought. I'm like, obviously you never want it to get out of hand, but maybe someone will see that and kind of overlook us down the road. But that's the problem for down the road. There's
I doubt it.
Plenty for them to pick. I know.
Wishful thinking, but
right, I'm grasping at straws here.
Nobody is ever going to overlook the Wilson Bulldogs. You know that. Doug knows that, and his entire staff knows that. So they're always going to get your best shot.
I think, and this is not to disrespect any of the big time recruits that they had, but honestly, I feel like some of the guys that didn't have big time offers, maybe made a bigger impact on the game than some of the others. I mean, obviously everyone knows Jameel Lyons. He's a beast. Like he looks the part, he plays the part. Absolutely incredible talent at defensive end. I'm glad he'll be playing for my blue and white next year. Like that excites me. But I thought the running back Mao Howe was fabulous. And also, I believe the young man who was the quarterback last year, but has now kind of moved into the athlete role, play a little run back, a little wide receiver, or wildcat type quarterback. Is it Robertson?
Yes.
I thought number 3, I believe.
3.
I thought the two of them combined, I think, is what took Wilson by storm. They kept Tyseer Denmark mostly in check. He had a nice catch and run, but it really was, I thought, number 1, number 3, Howland Robertson, that ended up controlling that game with in the running game, and that was the tough thing to overcome and to stop after, like you mentioned, the first 3 series where Wilson got 3 and outs, and I'm feeling really good, up 12-0, defense looking good, and a credit to Roman Catholic for weathering that storm and eventually taking over the game. You did mention the injuries that Wilson had to start. Middle linebacker Landon Farrell didn't even dress. He's dealing with an injury that suffered in training camp. And then throughout the game, you had multiple offensive and defensive linemen go down. You had linebackers go down. It wasn't an ideal start to the season, both, in the win column, which you didn't get, and then also the health of the squad, which we've seen, I feel like, fairly often the last few years. And people do ask me continually, Mike, why does Wilson want to keep playing these big time opponents that slug it out, and you get injuries and you're missing your entire team, the collective team that you wanted to have, that you thought you would have for 2, 3, 4 weeks at the beginning of the year. And I mean, they want the competition. I don't think they don't want to back down, but I feel like a lot of people want them to reconsider playing Central Dauphin and Roman Catholic, and they're not going to. I'm just saying that's what people want from them.
No, they shouldn't. I mean, Wilson is a top shelf program. They should be out there playing Central Dauphin. It'd be a crime if that game was taken away from the schedule, because those are 2 perennial District 3 Quad A or big school, contenders that in any given year, one of them or both of them can win a title. So, Wilson shouldn't be backing down. And the other problem is, and Doug tells me this all the time, they can't find games. Teams don't want to play Wilson because it has, and this is one reason Mannheim Central wanted to get Wilson off the schedule. Mannheim Central could play with Wilson and give them a competitive game, but they got so beat up in the process that the next week, Mike Williams was down 4 or 5 starters, and sometimes that affected them for several weeks. And I did this once before, did kind of a little study about teams' records the week after playing Wilson, and it takes a toll on your team.
It's interesting. You've done it. You've studied that.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I'd like
Just
to see right up on that.
because of the reluctance of top programs like Mannheim Central to play them, and I understand that you don't want to play a game, even if you can win it, where you're going to be short 4 or 5 guys for the next 3 weeks. The high school teams, this isn't like Power 5 programs in college where, your number 3 quarterback on the depth chart is still a high school All-American.
Right, a 4-star guy.
And you've got 8 offensive linemen who are 350 pounds, and, one guy goes down, you just bring another Javen Williams off your bench.
We're not all why I'm missing.
Yeah, it's not like that in high school. When you have, Nick Weitzel at D end starting, he's there for a reason, because he's your best D end. And the number 2 guy, there's probably a pretty big gap between 1 and 2. So the injuries can really mount. And especially when you have a guy like Brady Klein, who's a 2-way starter. I mean, he's playing H-back, which is critical to your offense in terms of not just as a receiver, but he's often your lead blocker. You lose him and also take him away from your defense. Now you need 2 guys to replace him. And again, those 2 guys are not going to be nearly the athlete he is. So
yeah,
coaches are just terrified of injuries because it could wreck your season.
Yeah, Nick Weitzel gone for most of the game. Cleveland Harding, I think, had 2 carries before he left with an injury and missed the rest of the game. We saw injuries to Nick Krikona, the starting outside linebacker. You mentioned Brady Klein. These are all supremely important individuals that unfortunately were dinged up and missed a large portion of the game. And I know that was one thing that the coaching staff, by and large, was, they're not happy with the loss, but they're not going to enter panic mode. We saw it last year. You started 2 and 3. were able to weather the storm and get things right. The coaches were preaching next man up mentality. You must be ready because your number can be called at any moment. And obviously, and they said this, we've said it all summer, every year it's been said, but until it happens, it's tough to get student athletes, young men to buy into that. And obviously now there's a huge red flag to say, hey, we need guys to step up. That was game 1. We got at least 9 more to go. Who's going to be ready to go? And that's one of the biggest takeaways. So, Justin, what do you have anything to say about the game Friday night?
Yeah, I just, I think there were, in my mind, there were a lot of parallels to a couple of the games that got away from Wilson early last year, where they got really banged up and game got away from them. But at the same time, I also trying to be optimistic, when I look at it, but I really do truly feel this way. They were able to learn from those bumps and bruises to ego and the body early last year and kind of recover, and were able to then turn it into a really successful season. They found their identity and all those things. I would love for it to kind of hit their stride before week 6 this year, but when you look at it, yeah, it was a disappointing Friday night. Like you said, Roman Catholic, especially after maybe the first 10 or so minutes, it really kind of, they were kind of what we expected. But after that, it also started going bad for Wilson. It kind of snowballed out of control. And you hope that, all right, well, we regroup and we get ready this week, and you have Central Dauphin coming up, which is going to present its own challenges, different from Roman Catholic, but they're going to be ready to go. They're going to be physical. I honestly, I thought Roman Catholic ran it once for success, and once they overthrew it, where they're lined up tight and they've been pounding you with the run, and then they throw the little play action to the guy running the seam. Well, Central Dauphin's going to run that play too. You see it every single year. I'm confident our guys will be ready. It's just one of those things where there was plenty that went wrong, but I didn't leave the game panicking, thinking, oh no, the sky's falling. It was just, you take your lumps and bruises, and we need to regroup and get right for next week. So,
Justin, you mentioned last year those big losses early to Mifflin and Exeter. I mean, there were maybe a couple of silver linings in those, as tough as those games were. One is Wilson was forced to play some younger guys, and those younger guys got some experience, and that helped them later in the season, and now it's helping them this season. And the other is they were 2-3 at midseason, almost being written off by some people, and they rebounded from that. And now they know that this one loss is not going to end their season. They can come out next week and win that game, and they're fine, and they can still achieve all of their goals.
So I just played the highlights from the Wilson huddle, and I think those are auto-generated. It's not the best. I really got to get back to grabbing all the plays, because they didn't even show us Cam's punt return for a touchdown. But Justin and I talked, and I feel like, Mike, you probably would agree. We always give out a Bulldog Hour player of the game, and I feel like for Wilson, it had to be once again Cam Jones. The electric senior who just committed to Holy Cross. He scored both touchdowns for the Bulldogs on Friday night. One on a rushing play out of their strong formation, near the goal line or short yardage type play. He got in first there, and unfortunately the extra point was missed there to go up 6-0. But then I believe it was the next series after Roman Catholic pumped, which I couldn't believe they were punting to him. And I know you said how much scouting was done there if you're trying to punt to him, because they eventually later started to kick it to the side, but not sure why you wouldn't do that from the start. But they didn't, and Cam made him pay. 77-yard touchdown to the end zone to give Wilson a 12-0 lead. And I know some people, not that this would have changed the game, but we thought that the 2-point play was good. I know, Justin, you had mentioned you thought it was
from
close.
My angle, it looked really close. I mean, I'm 90 yards away, like 50. I'm on the 50-yard line looking at the goal line from the opposite angle. It was tough. It was close, but I mean, I can't say that he was in, but
yeah, neither here nor there, but they went up 12-0. But that was it in terms of reaching the end zone. Then Ben Rada did kick a field goal, which Mike talked about earlier, to cut the Roman Catholic lead to 20-15. And unfortunately, Wilson just couldn't stop the Catholic offense when they needed to. and things snowballed in the fourth quarter. But Cam Jones did have another strong game, especially at the beginning, and he also played great on defense.
Oh man, he was really good on defense, and that's one, especially in high school football, doesn't necessarily get noticed as much. You don't have entire departments on every team calculating every single thing. Like, oh, this play was taken away or all that stuff, but they threw his direction a number of times, which honestly, even towards as last year went on, you stopped seeing that a little bit. And he was there and made some big pass breakups. And hey, we're going to need that from him all year. So.
He had 5 tackles and 2 pass breakups.
I think part of that with Cam is why they kicked to him and why they threw to his side. A couple of things. I think from the Roman standpoint, it was sort of a macho thing. Like, we know this guy's good. Let's see how good he is. Let's challenge him. And they found out about the kicking, and then they didn't kick to him again. And I think Rick Preet, I just saw on Twitter he complimented Cam on a good game. So I think I think there's a relationship there. I think they know each other, and so Rick certainly is aware of Cam's talent. But I think it was sort of that macho thing, like, we think we're good. Let's see your best player.
Let's see how good you are.
Yeah, and they found out.
Yeah, they did. But I mean, obviously Roman Catholic, immensely talented. I'd be interested to follow them the rest of the year and see how they do in the Philly Catholic League.
I mean, their section's loaded. They've got St. Joe's, they've got Archbishop Wood, and they've got LaSalle.
Right.
So that partly explains that 3-7 record. I mean, they could be 5-5 this year with that schedule.
Right. Yeah. The talent that's down there is hard to fathom. It really is. But so Wilson comes out with the loss again in a tough game, great opponent. And we'll move on to Central Dauphin. We'll get to them in a moment.
Okay. Before we move on, I just want to get your thoughts, Justin and Joe, on kicking to Cam. Now, like I said, Roman probably had their reasons for doing it, but once you get into league play, these teams know about him. How much do you think we're going to see that, or are we just going to see teams kicking it out of bounds without giving it a thought?
I think teams are going to kick off short, and they're going to punt essentially out of bounds
to the sidelines
almost every time. Now, I think some of that, and we've seen some big pump blocks over the last couple of years. I think we might get into a position where you have something, or also, if we can back a team up deep in their own territory, sometimes you force their hand a little bit, and maybe again, it's high school football, so it might not get executed how the coach exactly wants it to. But I think in terms of intentions, I don't know that I'd be stunned if he gets even a few more, because I think he's just not going to get the chances. I think they're just going to kick away from him all year. And on kickoffs, if that means kicking short, I think teams are just going to take that risk.
Yeah, I agree with Justin there. I don't think Cam will get too many more opportunities, at least not on paper, not the way it's drawn up. There could be, like Justin mentioned, an errant kick that wasn't supposed to go that way, and it does. Or maybe Wilson adjusts. We saw it last year at Penn Manor where they drew up, Penn Manor's probably going to kick it short. Well, we'll put a quarterback there and have him throw across the field to Cam and see what happens there. He ended up taking one to the house in that game anyways. But I don't think he'll get a lot of opportunities. He's not going to be able to match last year's incredible stat of 7 return touchdowns, 6 more called back. But I do believe that he already has the career mark for return touchdowns at Wilson. I was looking through the stats book, and it mentions individual season, which he tied last year on punt returns, but there's no cumulative career totals in the stats book. But I'm sure Cam has to own that record by now.
I also, I distinctly remember one of the away games last year, and where he had a big game, including some big kick returns and punt returns. And the people were saying, why are we kicking to him after the first one? They knew. And so that makes me think, the coaches are going to know. I don't know execution level. Sometimes it gets a little screwed up. But, I mean, I'm all for him getting a ton of chances.
Yeah. I'm
not banking on that. However, that can still help the team. It is limiting that weapon. But, you want to kick it out of bounds, we'll take it on the 40, or you want to try and punt out of bounds and you get a 15-yard punt or a 20-yard punt instead. Okay, but at the same time,
field position's important,
right? We'll take what we can get in it, but it's almost like the big shot blocker, that is in there and he blocks a couple early, and then he's affecting shots even if he's not getting the blocks the rest of the way. Cam's returning game is going to affect the Wilson team, even if he's not getting the touchdown returns. That's kind of the way I look at it. But I'd love to see it. I just don't think he's going to get that many chances this year.
Yeah, and the return against Roman was classic. I mean, he made 2 or 3 cutbacks across the field, and it's just amazing the timing that he has, and he's able to combine that with his physical skills. Just incredible. Well, you know that Central Dauphin's not going to kick to him because he opened last year's game with a 70-yard punt return. So Glenn McNamee knows better.
Yeah,
you know.
Right.
I feel like all the remaining teams should know better. They should have done their scouting, and the only ones that haven't faced Cam is, well, I guess, Reading. Everyone else left on the schedule has seen what Cam can do, but via the film share or in person. So I just don't see him getting very many opportunities the rest of the year. And we saw Roman Catholic short kick it in the kickoffs, so he didn't even get really any opportunities there. So people are going to try to handicap the Wilson team and also their own team in field position, but it's better than giving up 6 points, which, I mean, it's become essentially every three or four kicks he takes to the house, which is crazy. So I would like them to keep kicking to him, but I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think he's going to get very many more opportunities the rest of the year. So Roman Catholic didn't go the way everyone had hoped, but we knew it was going to be a tough task. On to the next week, which is Central Dauphin. So we're going to do our preview here shortly, but first up, I do want to just mention the pregame ceremony in honor of John Doc Moyer, who retired from Wilson in the end of the school year, in the 2019-2020 school year. So obviously things were a mess at the end because of the beginning of the COVID pandemic. The district didn't get to do anything to honor and respect his retirement, and for him to go on in the middle of that was unfortunate. So finally, here we are in August 2022, and it was time to honor Doc's 4+ decades of service to not just Wilson, the community, but to athletic training profession in general, and to advancements in medical science. And he is a phenomenal representative for the school district and the community. And it was great to see the district take this opportunity to honor him with a really cool plaque that will be hanging next to the athletic training room on the Wilson campus, and the nice words from Roy Snyder, Kieran Melagrano, and Drew Kaufman about Doc and his many, many accolades he's accumulated over the years, and not a single negative comment or anything disrespectful could be said by Doc on anything I posted. Everyone just agreed with how important Doc was to the Wilson community and the athletic training profession.
Matt Coldren said something interesting a few years ago when I wrote a story about Doc when he was retiring, and he put John Moyer in the same company, as John Gursky, Roy Snyder, Doug Doms. That would be your Mount Rushmore of Wilson, coaching or administrative figures. And I thought that was really quite a tribute, because each of those other guys, of course, are legends in their own right. And to put Doc up there was pretty impressive. And, Doug Doms, told me at the time I wrote that story, and even previously, that it's Doc's call. When a player gets hurt, Doug doesn't decide, if he goes back in. It was 100% Doc Moyer's decision, and that's a big call, and that's a lot of respect that the coaches gave him, and rightfully so. So I hope he's enjoying his retirement. I'm sure he's proud that it's Kyle, his son, is now working in the same capacity he did. I think that's really fitting.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great. And when Kyle was doing his work as a, I guess, just graduated student or about to graduate from college, he was over with us at West Football, and we knew right away that, well, he has it. Like, we were hoping at the time, and this was about 8 years ago, man, I would like to see him back at Wilson. And just a few years later, he was and is. So continue the line of incredible talent with the athletic training department, because, we heard, actually, I know, because I was on the team when Kieran came in 2001, and it was just a slam dunk decision. Everything that's been made in that department, Wilson Sports Medicine, is phenomenal, and now has 4 full-time athletic trainers. So it's just great things, and all that started with Doc in 1979. So awesome opportunity for them to honor him, and they did a great job. Very well done by the district, and it was great to see Doc and his family there. All right, so Mike, before we roll into the Central Dauphin preview, let's talk a little bit about your website and how things went in year 1, and what are your expectations or hopes in year 2?
Well, thanks for asking. It's very exciting right now. I've been waiting for the start of football season for months because football's the big ticket item. It drives the car. I mean, I'm a huge basketball fan, and to me, basketball is 1A to football in terms of Pennsylvania high school sports. But the interest level of football, there's nothing like it. And I was fortunate in the off season. I started working on a deal with the Lancaster Intelligencer Journal, LNP News, to partner, because with this new league with 37 teams, they they had the desire to cover every game, and they knew they weren't going to be able to do it with their staff because it's just difficult to find that many people to cover games on Friday night. And I knew it was in my best interest to partner with them because I would like to cover more games. Last season, we covered 4 to 5 games on a Friday night with a reporter there, but it would be nice to get more. And through this partnership, we are now sharing stories. Friday night, I had a reporter at 9 of the 10 games involving Burke's teams, and they reported for the website. And plus, I also have access to all of the stories that LNP produces. So if you checked out the website today, I selected some of the bigger games, the McCaskey game, the Manheim Township loss. I think Lancaster Catholic had a nice win. There are 5 or 6 games from the LL League that don't involve Burke's teams, but you can find the stories on our website. And also Lancaster readers, they can find all of the stories from Friday night's game and also the Wyomissing game yesterday on their website. So I think it's a win-win for both sides. I think it's definitely a win for our readers, to get that coverage. And we have full box scores on every game, and you just can't find that anywhere else. And if you're into football, that's the place you want to go. Check it out.
Yeah, when Joey sent me the link to that article like right away, and I'm like, oh man, this is incredible, and I read it, and then not too long after that, I think you posted an article from Lancaster about the Columbia team, and I've got the special tie to Columbia, and I was like giddy. I was like, yes, I'm so excited. Yeah, it's incredible. Like to be able to find the scores for just the massive league. Like it would be hard for any one group to cover that, but yeah, it is incredible. I've loved how it's worked so far, and I'm excited for how that kind of continues throughout the season. Just because there are so many games that you were able to touch on. It's awesome.
And people are noticing on Tuesday, and I don't know why it happened on Tuesday, but we had the all-time high number of hits on the website. It wasn't any particular big breaking story, but I think it was just the interest in football was starting to crescendo. And then on Friday, of course, we topped that record by 50%. And then on Saturday, when there was only one game played, I topped Friday's record. So
people jumping on to read about what they missed.
Right. People, because, obviously a lot of the stories went up Friday night at 11:30, midnight, 2 a.m., 3 a.m. I think I posted my second Wilson story, which was a rewrite around 3:15, and I don't think you were up waiting for that one. I suspect you were in bed.
I got that in the morning when I woke up. I saw the first stuff. I saw a lot Friday night because it takes me a long time to calm down after a Friday night football game, and I'm not even one playing or coaching in it. But I still, I went to the doc reception, but I got home and immediately jumped on all the different coverage sites. What can I read about? What are they saying about Wilson Roman Catholic, and then what are they saying about the other LL teams and the other Berks teams? Because I like to keep up with what's going on with Wyomissing, Mifflin, Exeter. I want to know what's going on. So I'm just refreshing Twitter feed and see what's the next link that's being posted. And but I was not up at 3 a.m. No, I was not. So.
Well, there were a few people, and they might have been in Western time zones, but it's interesting. I can track live how many people are on the site at any given time, and of course around midnight, maybe 12:30, it starts to fade and people are going to bed. But the goal is to get as much stuff on there. So in the morning, when you wake up at 6 or 7 or whenever you wake up, there's a lot of content there.
Yeah, I feel like that's an understatement. A lot, it doesn't even do it justice what's available now.
Like you mentioned earlier, and it's not really tongue in cheek. Like, throughout the day, we'll be sending texts like, "Oh, did you see this article?" This week, I was like, man, I just can't keep up. I feel like that was just an example of how I felt about football season, and certainly how Joey feels about football season, about how just that excitement was bubbling up and it was here. And I love being the consumer of that information. Like I can't get enough of it. So it's just, yeah, it's a great resource to be able to get that information.
I'll tell you a funny story. Last year, the website launched August 1st, and I had about 10 to 12 stories up the first day. And I get a text from Steve O'Neill, the offensive line coach at YMSC, at around 2 or 3 in the afternoon. He says, "Oh, I just read all the stories." And I was like, "Steve, I just spent the last 2 weeks writing these. Like, give me a break. Slow down a little bit because I can't write 12 stories every day." So
it's funny when Justin said last week, he's like, "I can't even keep up with all the content." I was like, "It's funny. As soon as I see it posted, I read it immediately." And my thought is, when's the next one coming out? I feel like me and Steve are one and the same. Everything is posted, I read it immediately, and then I'm just like, I gotta wait until he tweets out another link.
Just so anybody who looks at the site just knows, I'll tell you a little bit about the process. I try to have a fresh story up there now in season. We'll have several per day, but to give the site a new look 3 to 4 times a day, and like in that main primary position, which like the lead story, I hope to change that 2 and 3 times each day. And then on a Friday night, we post an early story, which is a short version of the story as soon as we can by 11 o'clock, just so you get a few details. And then our writers are going to rewrite that story into a fuller version that'll include post-game reaction and more details and a box score. So if you check the website early, like at 10:30 or 11 Friday night, check back again at midnight before you go to bed or first thing in the morning, you're probably going to get a fresh expanded story for football coverage.
Yeah, the fleshed out with stats and quotes and pictures and all that stuff, because it's not just the journalists you have photographers going to many of these games. And like you said, the collaboration with the Lancaster newspapers, Lancaster Online, it's just top notch. And I love getting Jeff on the, let's not talk about the Fearless Friday forecast, because honestly, I was feeling really good when Wilson was up 12-0. I know most people had picked Wilson, but I was feeling good about that. Honestly, I was surprised how many picked Wilson. I thought I was going to be in the minority there, but I'm never going to pick against my Bulldogs. So, but yeah, Fearless Friday forecast, that's interesting for me because there's some teams that I don't know a lot about. So going in a little bit blind, but now that there's going to be some stories written, some stats, I'm hoping to maybe make a better showing next week.
Well, I just so everybody knows, I will pick Wilson to win every week, even to week 16. It doesn't matter, because if I don't, Ernie Wolver is going to be on me so badly, and I'll never live it down. So even if I thought they were going to go 0-10, I would still pick the Bulldogs every week, just so people know that. And everybody, I think we have 13 people picking games. Everybody picked Mifflin to beat Springford.
Yeah, well, we heard about that.
Yeah,
one.
well, apparently Chad Brubaker, either he or somebody on his staff, put up a meme about that.
Well, I did, yeah.
Calling us the Dean Wormer, the Animal House crew, because we were 0.0 grade point average.
Whoever runs the Springford Rams football Twitter account, very active, not shy to speak their mind. Responded to someone, I don't know if it was you or someone, had posted the Fearless Friday forecast link or a screenshot of the picks where no one picked Springford. And yeah, they posted the GIF from Animal House, and I did allude to that in I retweeted the article to say, basically, hopefully this will be fun. I'm hoping to do better next week, but I am excited to be part of bulletin board material for other teams. As long as it doesn't negatively impact Wilson, I'm all about it. And when a team is taking down Wilson's rival, I'm also all about that too. So.
Well, the whole staff whiffed on that one. So what can I say? Next time I'll know better. I'll call Chad and ask him what he's got. Maybe he'll tell me the truth, or maybe he won't.
Yeah, well, Springford has been very good under Chad's tutelage, so it looks like they've got a good team down there once again and can make some noise in District 1. All right, so last 15 minutes or so of the show, let's dedicate to Wilson's next game, Week 2, Game 2. We're going to go to Harrisburg to take on Central Dauphin, who, we've mentioned for a while had been the first game of the season, has been a staple in the non-league slate since 2014 for Wilson. It's always a meaningful game in the District 3 playoff race. It's a very important game. The only year it wasn't played was the COVID year when it had to get axed in 2020. It's been an interesting series with the Rams, mostly because they're one of the few teams that Wilson actually has a losing record against. Central Dauphin leads Wilson 7-5 in their 12 meetings, so this is the 13th time the two teams have met. But Wilson has won the last two in 2019 and last year at Gursky, 27-21 to open the 2021 season. CD had gone on a stretch of, I believe, 4 wins in a row in the series prior to that. So you mentioned Glenn McNamee, great coach, great staff they have there. And I feel like Central Dauphin's very similar to Wilson. It's like every year you can count on them being good, being aggressive, being physical, and never giving up. They suffered a setback yesterday. They lost to Central York, who has moved on from Bo Pribula, but they seem to have a lot of talent back in that York Adams League this year. But Mike, what do you see about Central Dauphin leading into the season, or even after this week 1 loss to Central York? What are your expectations for the Rams right now?
Well, I think, and you made a good point that it's a very similar program to Wilson because it starts at the top with an excellent head coach and a really strong staff, and then a tradition. And the other thing about Glenn, he knows Wilson's personnel better than anyone not on the Wilson staff. I mean, almost every year I'll call him before the game, and he'll run down the players one after another, and not only know their names or numbers, but he knows their tendencies. He studies a lot of Wilson football. I guarantee you in January, February, March, he's on his computer watching the Bulldogs and some of his other top rivals. But so he knows Wilson as well as anybody the Bulldogs are going to play, and his teams are going to be prepared. I just get the feeling the last few years, the program has just dipped somewhat, just a half a level down. And as you mentioned, Wilson's gotten them the last couple of years. I'm a little surprised by not only the loss to Central York, which I had the impression they had a lot of seniors last year on that Central York team. So to see them lose 36-19, and that game was 36-6. Going into the fourth quarter.
Oh, was it? I did not know that.
Central Dauphin scored 2 late touchdowns.
Okay.
So that's a pretty lopsided game. So also CD was picked 5th in the Mid-Penn Conference this year. I looked at Penn Live. I mean, Harrisburg, of course, is the favorite state college. Cumberland Valley, and then Carlisle was picked ahead of them. For what that's worth.
Ooh, okay. A couple of notes there. Cumberland Valley just beat Manheim Township in week 1. Very interesting note for Wilson there. And Carlisle plays Mifflin this week.
Right.
So, okay. Well, so we'll know a lot about the Mid-Penn then. Well, Wilson, Central Dauphin, Mifflin, Carlisle. Interesting. Okay. I mean, I figured Harrisburg was the team to beat there. And State College is always strong, though Wilson doesn't usually end up having to deal with State College unless it's a really good year and we're late into the playoffs. But, okay, I didn't realize Central Dauphin was picked 5th. I did not get thorough enough into my Mid-Penn reading, apparently focused on Berks and LL. So Central Dauphin graduated their quarterback. Max Mosey was the guy there. He was 3 or 4 year starter for them. And also interesting note, where's he going to college now?
He doesn't go to Holy Cross.
Holy Cross.
Yeah.
So him and Cam Jones will be teammates within a year. But wow, okay, I didn't realize 5th place in the Mid-Penn, and they were down that big to Central York.
And it's hard to gauge Central York because they were so senior. They had a lot of senior contributors last year. It's hard to gauge kind of what's there underneath, but Central Dauphin giving up 30 plus to anyone grabs my attention because everyone has had their fits with Harrisburg the last few years and things like that, but even those are usually 20 something to the teen. To put up 30 some points on Central Dauphin gets your attention, but also grabs your attention thinking it's unlikely to happen twice.
Well, and now Central York's gotten the better of Central Dauphin by a wide scoring margin twice, as they were the ones that beat CD in the playoffs in 2020, the year that Wilson was left out and the pandemic shortened playoffs. So that huge years for Central York, and they're doing it now without a blue chip quarterback prospect. Although I hear the entire quarterback room up there is really strong. So I don't know if Wilson will get to see Central York this year or not, but we do get to see Central Dauphin, and that's this week coming up in Harrisburg at Speed Eversole Stadium. And remember, that is played, everyone listening, that is played at Central Dauphin Middle School. Do not go to the high school. That stadium is at the middle school. And obviously, Harrisburg traffic, you're going to want to leave a little bit early to get there. It can be one heck of a drive.
It's pretty close to right off of 283.
Yeah. So Glenn McNamee's got his work cut out for him, and I know a lot of people right now after the first week thinks Coach Doug Doms has his work cut out for him too at Wilson. But both teams well respected around the state, and it's always an interesting battle. So looking forward to that one. I do not ask me about injuries because I do not dive into that. Whoever is out on the field Friday night, that's who's going to play. So any of you listening out there, don't ask me about who's coming back because I do not know, and if I did, I wouldn't tell you anyways. So, but anything else to say about game against Roman Catholic or what Wilson has coming up against the Rams?
No, I got the sense, and again, I'm no Doc Moore, that none of those injuries were significant. That
I don't think they were season enders.
Right,
no.
right, and I wouldn't be surprised to see most of those guys back Friday night. Cleveland, it looked like a sprained ankle. You don't know about those, but again, I think I think they'll be near full strength on Friday night.
And like Coach Doms alluded to after the game with his team in the huddle, you got to have that next man up mentality. It's time to show what you're made of. We saw the team do it last year, and it should have got them on the right path this year. And now, just again, those unheralded seniors or underclassmen, it's time to go. The biggest thing, and one of the cliches in at least high school sports, if not across all of football, is you see your biggest improvement from week 1 to week 2. And I know not only is Wilson hoping for that, but Central Dauphin will be as well. Both teams entering that game at 0-1. So, Justin, you have anything else on the season so far?
No, just like you said, there's a lot of improvement to be made for week 2. I'm hopeful that we'll see it. We also know that, like you said, Central Dauphin's they're gonna make their improvements too, and they're gonna be ready for us. It's never an easy trip to go up to Central Dauphin, but you gotta prepare. Whether you were somebody who kind of got thrown into the fire on Friday night, or whether you were kind of somebody that was expected to be, in that battle, like we've got a week to get right, get it figured out. I'm confident that the coaches and the coaching staff, who I have a lot of confidence in, are going to get the guys in the right positions. I think a couple things looking back, while the wheels came off in the fourth quarter, and it did a little before that have the sense, like Mike alluded to before, that Wilson's kind of like hanging in there. The final score doesn't reflect Wilson's total effort in that game, and I feel like that's something that Wilson can, they can know that they hung in there for a while with a very talented team. At the same time, there's still lots to do, but I'm just not hitting the panic button yet, and I'm confident that they're going to be prepared, and as prepared as they need to be to go into Central Dauphin in Harrisburg on Friday and give it a good shot.
Now, before I ask Mike a final question, he'll wrap us up. I do want to take a minute just to mention one more thing. The next home game is Friday, September 9th at Gursky. That will be against Martin Luther King, another Philadelphia area school that Wilson got to play last year. But that is the night of the Wilson Football Tradition Club's annual championship team reunions, and it is featuring the 20th anniversary of my senior year, the 2002 team. The RSVP date is rapidly approaching. It is this Wednesday, August 31st. We would like to know if the former coaches, players, managers, trainers, if you're coming to that game, please let me know. Email wilsonbulldogsfootball@gmail.com, and we'll make sure that we'll add you to the list. Very excited to see a lot of former players, and I know some former coaches coming back. Coach Victor Brown will be there. And we've gotten up to now about a dozen players returning. I'd love to see a few more. So if were a teammate of mine on that 2002 team, not just seniors, all of them, everyone on that team, sophomores, juniors, everyone, if you'd like to go, let me know. That should be a good time. Looking forward to reminiscing on the 20th anniversary of the 2002 football team. 11-1, District 3 runner-ups, undefeated in the regular season, 10-0. It was a great year, and I look forward to seeing a lot of you back there.
Who was your quarterback on that team? I can't remember that guy.
The name.
I wonder whatever happened.
Yeah, I don't know. He just got lost to the record books, probably never mentioned again.
I think he's going by anonymous now, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think so. So, Mike, last thing, we have just about 5 minutes or so to go. We want to make sure we get in that hour, and this is a perfect opportunity to let you know about some of the other Berks teams. I know you were at the Y Missing game yesterday. How did the Spartans look?
I've been telling people this. I don't think I've written it yet, but I don't think I'm going to see them lose this year. I just think You know, they are so sound and so talented and so big, and they have a wealth of offensive options. I mean, Riker Jones, I think, could start for any team in the county other than Wyo. I mean, he could start for Wyo if they needed him, and he could be 1,000-yard back, but they're so deep, and he's important to them at linebacker, and they don't like to play too many guys both ways or full time both ways. He's a tremendous talent, but he's like the fourth or fifth or sixth option on offense. I mean, Drew Eisenhower, terrific. Charlie McIntyre, nobody knows about him. He's one of the fastest guys in the county. The quarterback's a second-year starter, Ben Zeckman, very solid back there. And then, of course, you know about the lineman, Javen and Caleb Brewer, who has moved to tight end. He's probably going to be the biggest tight end in the Lancaster-Lebanon League. He's about 6'4", 280. Payson Ziegler, who missed a lot of last year with a foot injury, another guy in the 280 range. You know, they're just huge. I just can't see another 3A team stopping them.
It's too bad there's not a lot of talent for Coach O'Neill to work with over there. It's a shame. I wish one of these years, you know, someone would step up for him.
His number one job is taking those guys to eat after practice.
Yeah, I wouldn't be making any bets about it. You know, number of pancakes equals this meal, Coach Steve, because you're going to be coming out on the short end. Although he probably would be happy about that if they're piling up the stats on offense or on defense. I think he'll be okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, back-to-back state championship appearances for them, and I know a lot of people think they could make it 3 in a row. So, battling it out in that Section 4 in the New Berks LL, though, there's a lot of talent there, but I believe Why Missing is going to come out on top.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure how good Calico is because they handled Warwick pretty good. So, and of course, that Lancaster Strasburg has been on top lately, but this Why Missing team is special. You know, there's not a drop-off from last year, as incredible as that is. And I thought last year there would be a drop-off from the year before because they had such a great senior class. It's amazing the talent that's come through there and how disciplined they are and how together they are.
I know you weren't there since you were at the Wilson game, but what about how about Exeter and Mifflin? What did you hear about those two games?
Exeter, not terribly surprised, but the good sign was, you know, they went with Mason Rotelli at quarterback over Joey Schlaffer. And nobody knows anything about Mason, but he performed very well. You know, very efficient in that game. I think he also ran for a score. He threw for a couple of touchdowns. And again, Exeter has tremendous line, and those guys go both ways. I mean, and now Joey Schlaffer's playing defensive end to go with, you know, Lucas Belange is a great offensive lineman playing linebacker. And, you know, they've got Anthony Kachisa, of course, another big-time player. So they are stacked there, and they will, you know, they are going to, I made them the favorite in Section 2. Manheim Central is going to challenge them, of course. Warwick, we'll see if they can get it back. And, of course, Mifflin, I think, will be better as the season goes along because they were very young to start the season. But Exeter looking very good right now.
I think one of the most interesting off-season or preseason, however you want to look at articles, was you looking back at what if Berks and LL had merged last year. Could Berks have swept the 5 sections? I feel like that could possibly be on the table this year, as we're seeing, you know, it's just one game, but people think Wilson's in a 3-way race with Township and Hempfield. We've just talked about Exeter and Mifflin in 2, Why Missing in Section 4, and then Section 3 and 5 seems to be the toss-ups, but there's possibilities for Berks teams to come out on top.
It would be incredible. I have Berks teams as the favorite in 4 of the 5 sections. The only one is Section 3, which is a complete toss-up. But I think, and now I had Boone as one of the top contenders. They lost their quarterback. I don't know how long he's going to be out. I don't think it's a season-ending injury. So maybe, you know, by the time league play starts, he'll be back and he'll be okay. But Fleetwood's going to be competitive. Fleetwood's probably the team I underrated the most. I think I picked them 5th or 6th. In that section.
Very good opening night.
Yeah, but even before that, I went out and then I go to every school to take pictures and meet the kids, and you know you get a first look at them in a uniform to see what they look like, and that tells me a lot. I mean, you know, I just see a guy and you know, this guy looks like a player, and I think I underrated them. Fleetwood's going to be a lot more competitive than I thought, and Twin Valley, which I had up there, I think I picked them 3rd. I mean, I put a lot of faith in their new coach, Brett Myers, is a tremendous coach. You look at his track record, and it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when for Twin Valley. When, you know, at some point, they're going to dominate Section 3 within the next 2 to 3 years. Maybe it'll be this year, but I think 3 years from now, everybody's going to be looking up at Twin Valley.
Yeah, it was Twin Valley's new head coach, Coach Brett Myers. He was a thorn in the side of Wyomissing at his time at Middletown, what he was able to do there with that program. I took a year off and now at Twin Valley. And yeah, I do like what the Raiders have going for them there. I was high on them entering the season. I picked them to win this week. I think that was one that was closely picked, if I remember
That was
correctly.
one of the toss-up. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it was like a 9-4.
9-4,
split.
8-5, something like that. Yeah. So awesome. Well, have you looked at the schedule? Do you know where you're going this week?
I have not. It's
up in the air.
Way too early in the week. I'm still working on week one, but I did put up a story this morning. My 4 downs, which is every Sunday morning or early afternoon, just kind of my 4 big takeaways from the weekend. So you can check that out and let me know what you think.
Always, we do. And Justin and I are always right there. As soon as they're posted, we like to check those out and send them out on social media. You can follow Wilson Bulldogs football, Bulldog Hour. Mr. Raffauf, Coach Joe Mays, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We got Bulldog Hour or Wilson Football on Twitch and YouTube. And make sure you follow Mike at Mike Drago Sports on Facebook and Twitter, and at mdrago59. On Twitter as well for his personal account. So be sure to follow us so you can stay up to date with not just Wilson football, the Wilson Bulldogs, but also all of Berks County and a little bit of LL flavor now through MikeDragoSports.com. So I think that's all I have for you, Mike. Justin, you have anything to close us out?
Just one quick shout out in honor of Mike's combined with the LL League here. Columbia did get a win over Eastern New York on Friday night against the coach who, Bud Kyle, left Columbia, went to Eastern New York. Now, he's from York, so like
you get it, right? It
it's
makes
not
sense.
meant to be a shot. It's just I'm happy for Columbia to get that win. That was a meaningful win for them. So,
yeah, roll tide.
Yeah, absolutely. On Fridays, that's what I said. Right?
roll tide on Fridays. Yeah, we don't want to see on Saturdays. No, no crimson involved. But yeah, so that's it, I think. So, Mike, appreciate you joining us. Best of luck this football season and the website. And I hope I can do better in the Fearless Friday forecast from here on out. I did start to talk to my dad about a compensation package. We'll see. I believe it was Sean who already declared himself the winner, and he wanted his sandwich. So we'll see. It's a long year, Sean. Some of us start slowly, and there's like 13 prognosticators, huh? So I feel like Jeff is the favorite there. He's been doing it for a while. But we'll see. It's a long season. Look forward to it the rest of the year. Thank you for including me in that. I look forward to covering the Bulldogs and anyone else that I can get to on Saturdays. Looking at you, Wyomissing. I'll be getting to a game or two here in the not too distant future. But that's it for us here at the Bulldog Hour for Season 8, Episode 7. We will be back next Sunday night, 8:30 in our normal time slot to discuss Wilson's game against Central Dauphin and then preview Week 3 against Martin Luther King. So for Justin Raffauf and Mike Drago, I'm Joe Mays. Until next time, remember, go Bulldogs.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Bulldog Hour. Want more Wilson football? Follow the show on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and SoundCloud, or visit www.bulldoghour.com. The Bulldog Hour is a featured program on jmnjrradio.com.